so many modern cartoons having such big communities, I am seriously surprised Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart doesn't have a huge one. Now don't get me wrong, it definitely has a fan base. It got an entire trend going for Cartoon Network to finally release Season 2. But considering so many shows that focus on big emotional moments and adorable character interactions have such big followings, Mao Mao should really have more. It has pretty much everything you would want. A great art style and animation, great writing and humor, an interesting world, and such a lovable team of characters and so much character growth and exploration. Like, it's seriously one of CN's best shows in years. I mean, Infinity Train's in a weird place since it got rebranded as an HBO Max original, but yeah, with modern CN having the reputation as it does now of barely innovating and not making compelling cartoons anymore, Mao Mao really try and break that. I mean, yeah, it's still a kid's cartoon and it prioritizes having fun, but it really does make you feel in honestly more ways than how other shows I've watched done. But let me explain. Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart aired on July 1st, 2018 and was created by Parker Simmons, based off of older shorts he did. The story starts out with an ambitious swordsman, Mao Mao, who dreams of becoming a legendary hero like his family, with his biomechanical partner Badgerclops tracking down sky pirates looking for a legendary treasure, the Ruby Pure Heart, led by Captain Orangusnake. In a scuffle, Mao Mao and Badgerclops accidentally cause most of Orangusnake's crew to get thrown off the ship.
Eelwing! Why aren't you flying?
These wings are too heavy!
And then make a hasty escape. But they crash and chip the Ruby Pure Heart, which has made the entire valley invisible. Now landing in Pure Heart Valley, they meet the adorable inhabitants, the Sweetie Pies, notably a 5-year-old named Adorabat, who also dreams of a life of adventure and monster slaying. Without the shielding, the valley is vulnerable to numerous monsters around the area and other threats, so Mao Mao feels like he's forced to stay to defend it by honor. But it's not long before Orangusnake finds the hearts and attempts to steal it. Mao Mao and Badgerclops rush to fight them and whatever remains of Orangusnake's crew. During a fight with Orangusnake, Mao Mao learns that the Ruby Pure Heart is a legendary treasure, and defending it would technically make Mao Mao a legendary hero.
Oh yeah, super legendary. You didn't know that? I assume that was why you were here.
Oh,
They manage to take out Orangusnake's ship with help from Adorabat as they are knighted by the king to be a sheriff and bring law to the town and defend it from any threats. Mao Mao also takes Adorabat as an apprentice to teach him how to be a hero. It is a really promising premise that you can do a lot with, though Mao Mao takes it mostly just kind of local and casual in a way. Not that that's a bad thing, mind you, I think they executed it great. It's a bit formulaic with the usual plot of a character going through some issue as their friends try to help them out through it, as tensions escalate until a climax with either a monster or a sky pirate attack gets the group to action to save the town and resolve their issues. But I think because the characters are written so well and their relationship so good, it makes it great. Let me go into them.
all right. Let's see. Hi.
Mao Mao, descendant from the proud Mao clan of heroes going from generation to generation. Master swordsman and skilled in many arts, he is a legendary warrior loved by all. Or at least that's what he wants you to believe. Mao Mao's greatest dream is to live up to his family legacy and become a hero of legend, so he's dedicated his entire life to achieving that and follow all of his family's examples and rules. But that's the root of so much of his problems. So many of his episodes show how that mindset is so self-destructive, he has to make his own way as a hero. Mao Mao tries to keep a Batman-esque, gruff, and cool hero appearance, but it quickly falls apart when faced with any opposition. Despite what he tries to put on, Mao Mao is very human in his actual attitude and insecurities. We see all his life he was neglected by his father Shin Mao, who saw much more heroic potential in his 5 sisters, as he was completely desperate to prove himself worthy of the people who really didn't care about him. We flash back to so much of his childhood and how much he struggled just doing anything. Honestly, some of these are kind of hard to watch, it's really sad. It really makes sense looking back at the Mao Mao we have now. He was practically scarred and tries to do anything to be worthy, and it seriously affected him mentally. He has a practically tangible ambition to be a hero, but it's nice to see his relationship with Adorabat, who like him, also wants to be a hero. And he does try to teach her legitimately good advice on how to be a hero, and they have a great father-daughter dynamic.
Could never be just like me. You have to learn to be your own kind of hero. In your own special way.
He tries to give her helpful advice, though not all of it is good. Blame how he was raised. Honestly, I wish this show came out earlier so it could be in crossover Nexus. I would love to see Mao Mao try and take KO as an apprentice like Adorabat and try to give him some hero advice. That would have been so great. We do see some flashbacks of a younger Mao Mao when he was a carefree adventurer with his companion Bao Bao, who seems to just be a normal dog. Weird. He also lost his tail because of him, and because of that, turned into the hardened swordsman he is now. It's great how they managed to make him gruff, but also very expressive and relatable. His need to be a hero and follow through his family legacy does lead him to a ton of trouble, but luckily, he has Badger Clops to help.
Okay, well, I just said it was, so maybe get over yourself. As we all know, I am a creative genius.
Badger Clops is Mau-Mau's partner, and he's the perfect counter to him. He's a much more laid-back and carefree hero who will oftentimes try to rein Mau-Mau back whenever he gets too rowdy or ambitious. Sometimes he's even the voice of reason, despite his normal apathy to most problems. Despite this, he's also very sensitive, particularly to criticism, and he's also rather lazy.
2 whole things! Only 2 things!
Because of this, he can be quite a diva when faced with any personal issues.
I need to be away from you right now before I lose it on you.
And sometimes, Mau-Mau's the one who has to be the reasonable one and push him to get some responsibility or urgency. His cybernetic arm is filled with versatile abilities and forms that's a perfect addition to Mau-Mau's swift swordplay, and he'll sometimes work as the team's tech expert. Unfortunately though, no one gets to really know too much about his past. It's implied he didn't have a great relationship with his family, but they did establish that he used to be a bad guy, but seemingly he was a small-time crook. It's also not really brought up much except for when Mau-Mau's ex-partner tried to get his bounty, and the time where he led the Sky Pirates, but that was mostly despite Mau-Mau.
I'm just so happy to be a hero just like you, Mau-Mau.
Adorabat, though, has a lot to her. Honestly, she might be the main character. As I said, she dreams of being a cool action hero, and she absolutely idolizes Mau-Mau. Plenty of the earlier episodes have her learning the rough truths of being a hero and her naivety of being a child. But despite this, she never gives up. I gotta say, I really appreciate how they wrote her. Kids' sidekick characters can usually be the death of shows, but Adorabat is never annoying or obnoxious. She has a lot of things that really help her. One, she's freaking adorable. How can you not love her?
Well, my name's Adorabat. I already told you that. I'm gonna sing and dance on a cardboard map. Got a yellow heart on my tummy like eating bugs cause they're extra yummy.
Another is her relationship with Mau-Mau. It's super cute and endearing, and she really loves Mau-Mau, and he cares so much about his practically adopted daughter. Adorabat is the only person who really treats Mau-Mau like he wishes he was treated, admiring his amazing feats and abilities and thinking he's the coolest thing ever.
Maybe I don't need to be just like him. Nah.
Also, she could be completely feral.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you love your mommy? Do you love your mommy? Violence! Wow!
She can be completely demented and psychopathic seemingly at random. It's amazing to watch. These are so funny. I'm impressed on her voice actor's ability to scream. I'm surprised she can still talk after some of these. She even weaponizes it later on. I recommend Spooky Loves Boba's Adorabat Screaming compilation for more. Also, the Mau-Mau content's great too, so watch them. You can argue their entire story is in her perspective, and growing as a character into a hero herself, just like Mau-Mau. And honestly, later on we see just how deep her character really is, and a brutal past she has to do it too, that I'll get to later. Supplies a lot of the aerial agility to the team, and has a love for smoke bombs, and is useful as a distraction or flight when in fights, especially against the Sky Pirates.
She can fly! She forgot? Yeah, I'm still proud of her.
Orangu Snake is the main villain of the series, constantly trying to defeat Mau-Mau and steal the legendary Ruby Pureheart. Though it's actually just two different characters, Koby and Tanner, working in unison, with Koby as the brains and Tanner as the body.
My body! Oh, please reform! Merge! Merge!
He's not really supposed to be taken seriously, as even if he tries to be threatening, he really just isn't. He's actually a great foil to Mau-Mau, as he's trying to gain legendary status as a villain, but also can't sustain that persona in adversity. Though he can hold his own in a fight with Mau-Mau, he's able to sometimes use the hero's flaws and exploit them, like Mau-Mau's ego and Badger Cop's laziness. But honestly, he's a pretty funny villain.
I'm a magical being, and I...
Do some magic.
No!
Everybody, oh yeah! Everybody, oh yeah!
Help! Please! Help! Please!
There's also his henchmen, Ramaraf, Boss Ostrich, and Ratarang, who aren't too important.
Could I commission y'all for some more artistical pieces
How will you pay me?
with exposure?
But I do love Ratarang's random Italian mannerisms.
Oh, man, what are we gonna do, boss? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Oh, I dropped my mama's meatballs! Oh, my...
Their main goal after the first episode is to get their crash ship operating, and they seek out the crystal in Mamo's aerocycle to get it working, or some other power alternative. This usually forces the trio to find a way to the ship, around its defenses, to take it down before it can steal the Pure Heart. And knocking them out of the sky becomes a running gag, but they also say how they're okay whenever they fall, probably because of modern standards and practices.
Woo! Like, could you imagine?
But hey, at least they made a joke out of it. Okay, but the one time they took the crest as scarily realistic was hilarious. It's also funny how they slowly regress from being a well-armed threat to starving hobos.
You know, y'all could live like this like all the time if you didn't go around hurting people, right?
Yes, kid boy. You know I got to hurt people. Come on.
On the topic of villains, I gotta say, I really appreciate the action of this show. I mean, you just never see a legitimate action show anymore, at least not by CN. And even in this show, you can get the feeling that they're really restricted by modern standards and practices. Even in the show, Mamo's sword is more often used as a bat to just Team Rocket monsters away. But I definitely feel like the staff are trying really hard to push it. But the action we do see has such a swift energy to it, with Mamo's sword agility and dodges, Brachycopter's arm morphs, and Adorabat's aerial maneuverability. It's great to see. I love a lot of the monster designs too, and a lot of giving weird anatomy or abilities for the episode with a unique weakness to them as well. They give me a lot of Monster Hunter vibes. The animation of the show in general is so great. People keep complaining that every show looks the same now, and I love how this show looks. Characters being differently colored antho animals help it stand out more, and the backgrounds of the show are incredible. The animation is done by Titmouse, and they do great. Look how big and detailed the backgrounds are, especially in Pure Heart Valley. Like, you can get lost in the village architecture and details. All the backgrounds give such a vibe, from the warm coziness of Pure Heart Valley to the eerie metallic ship of the Sky Pirates. I especially love this one town in a flashback episode that's this autumn Japanese style village. It's so gorgeous. The show has a kind of anime vibe with its influence. I mean, if Mamo swordsman design, the Sweetie Pie's chibi vibes, and the focus of friendship didn't give it away. And that's another thing the show does focus on, the friendship of all the characters. As I made it clear, each of these characters have their own big character flaws, and plenty of episodes focusing on them. But the characters working together and usually trying to help each other really work. These characters are so lovable, and their dynamics so good, that the show being practically all character focused really isn't a problem. And since they're from broken families, it's so freaking heartwarming how they become a found family in their own right. They're not perfect, but that's the point. And when push comes to shove, they'll show how much they really love each other. It's just so freaking wholesome. I guarantee you'll get the feels when watching. And the writing really works well for them too. Even if they follow predictable character morals and formula, it's done in such an entertaining and fun way. I love the dialogue and how the characters feel so natural with each other, and the voice actor and animation perfectly give them minor inflections and outbursts.
Like myself, challenges abound in the treacherous field of show, so could you move? Actually, Norbat,
The humor is great too. The jokes, the writing, the animation work so well for it. Honestly, it's probably Cartoon Network's second funniest show next to Gumball. I laughed out loud for a lot of these. Their dig at Steven Universe is just the greatest thing in the world.
Hey there, happy little monster guy. Might I call you Curtis? Looks like you could use a bite, but I don't think you'd wanna hurt us. Go ahead and try a slice, cause I'm not here to shame you. Oh, Curtis, no!
So, honestly, I feel this episode has a deeper meaning, and maybe I'm looking too closely, but I feel this episode was about Mamo's development itself. The premise is that Mamo is not very popular or liked by the masses, and he desperately tries to change that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they reference other popular shows that Cartoon Network had, and Mamo ends up becoming a stereotypical Calort's caricature.
Hey guys, remember me? I'm the Mau Mau that's living in the now. Pow pow!
And Mamo himself becomes much more pandering and allows the Sweetie Pies to do anything they want just to appease them. But when push comes to shove, Mamo can't keep up with this facade and becomes himself, as surly as ever, is able to save the day at the cost of losing a new audience. But maybe some people will like him for what he really is.
It was nice to be loved. Once.
I love you, Mau Mau.
Again, I could be making all of this up, but I like to believe that's what it's about. Honestly, this show is chock full of great episodes. I can't really think of a bad one. So many are great, like the one where an ice monster freezes the entire kingdom, the one where Adorabat astrally projects, the one with the thumb war competition that got way too cool, the one that's just a massive Die-Hard parody for no reason. There's just so much. Honestly, man, one wishes that the show had a more serialized plot because it really works well for it. There are a few episodes that hint to it being a larger story, namely Orangutan Snake Begins, where Mammal goads Orangutan Snake so much that it wishes for power to finally crush him, and the Ruby Pureheart actually reacts and gives him the power, turning them and their ship into a massive mech Mammal has no chance to destroy. Honestly, this episode feels like a season finale. It's weird how the show didn't treat it like a big deal.
I fear you! I fear you! By my blade, I fear you!
Wait, really?
Another one had Adorabat wish she could zing people who upset her, and the Ruby Pureheart grants it, with insane dark energy power and corrupts her to take over the entire kingdom and kill her friends. And the characters do acknowledge something is up with the heart, so it is really building to some grand reveal that so far is never shown. And I really hope for it to finally pay off, because when the show wants to get really serious with its storytelling, it pulls it off great. One of the best examples is one of the best episodes, Adoradad, which finally answers, where are her parents?
Adorabat? I thought you were a ward of the state!
I thought you were my conscience.
But yeah, we finally get a good look at Adorabat's family, or what's left of it, and the trauma she had to go through because of it, and how it shaped her to be the way she is. It does not shy away from the darker and serious elements of this plot. It's incredibly heartbreaking and compelling, and it's probably Adorabat's strongest moment. I absolutely love it.
You're a lot smaller than I remember. I'm not afraid of you! I'm not afraid of anybody!
But no other episode has compared to my absolute favorite episode of this show, and maybe one of my favorite pieces of media in general, Small. The episode starts out with an incredible surprise with the series. Mamo's father is actually coming to visit him. Well, at least he was told to by Mamo's mother. Now, Shinmao has been built up a lot in the series, and every flashback has the primary cause of Mamo's emotional insecurity, and he's built as one of the greatest heroes of all time. And he makes a big presentation with his huge stature and booming voice. But, like always, he looks down on Mamo, both literally and metaphorically. And even if Mamo tries to be courteous, Shinmao clearly doesn't care much about anything he has to say.
You can show me the sights of this little miniature village. Can't imagine it would take very long. Alright, let's get out of here.
Yes.
Mamo desperately tries to prove to his father that he has any worth in his accomplishments. He shows them around the valley he defends, the treasure he guards, and the villains he faces.
Sun is responsible for the safety of this entire kingdom.
Well, it doesn't seem like too much to protect.
But it means nothing to Shinmao. It's all just small. What makes it worse is Shinmao's not even cold to him about it. He's so passive aggressive instead and just humors Mamo with everything he tries to show him. Like, he couldn't even respect him that much. To him, it's just like Mamo never grew up from a kid pretending to play hero, even though he's done so much. And the anger you feel is almost palpable, as Mamo is constantly degraded and laughed at for everything he's tried to do.
Look, just come find me when y'all are done with this little play date.
This guy's not even my dad. I'm still shattered by his disappointment.
It ends with Shinmao going camping as Mamo is going ham, chopping down firewood for catharsis, trying to take out all his anger.
Your father is the most amazing adventurer in the world. And I'd be lucky if I measured up to half of his legend.
Well, I like you how you are.
Even when he just might feel a little better, Shinmao just completely crushes him. And then, he says probably the worst thing he could say to his son.
I really thought you'd turn out to be a little more like your sisters. But hey, there's no shame in being small.
This just sets Mamo completely off as he accidentally awakens a sleeping dragon that's ready to attack. Mamo desperately tries to prove himself, but of course, Shinmao doesn't want to give him the chance. Also notice he says,
Ha! And I was afraid this trip was gonna be a total drag.
So yeah, he treated this entire trip and his time with his son as a complete chore. Wow. This makes Mamo just utterly explode at his father.
Sometimes, when you're not around, I actually kind of like myself. I think you're more worried that I'll embarrass you!
But this distracts him so much that the dragon blindsides him and knocks him out of his armor, revealing his small and frail body. Shinmao begs them not to look at him in this state, as Mamo is too shocked to respond. But with the dragon, Mamo finally faces his giant foe in front of the man who never gave him a chance.
Oh, shouldn't we help him?
No, I think he needs this.
The music swells as Mamo fights the colossal monster, dodging its giant strikes and wounding it, but also gets wounded himself. Mamo and his father lock eyes, with Shin seeing his son for the brave hero he is, before getting knocked into the sky by the dragon. The animation goes so swift as Mamo weaves through the monster's attack on his descent with palpable determination.
Did you think that was enough? It's never enough!
Seeing his son fight so hard and so valiantly, Shin flashes back to his birth, regarding him as small, but acknowledging maybe it's not so bad. It's clear that Shin Mao has been pushing his own insecurities on his son, insecurity of his own smallness onto him, being enchained by proxy to hate him. And then he cries. Whether from remorse or pride, who knows. But Mamo is single-handedly able to destroy the beast's armor as he unleashes his most powerful technique, learned by himself, with the weapon that was disregarded by his father, to utterly disintegrate the beast. And Mamo won, his determination now reaping such an excellent reward. He confronts his father, who desperately in fear tries to explain his actions and deception. But Mamo doesn't say a word, and just puts him back in his armor like nothing happened. And despite this, after all of this, Mamo still feels like he wasn't good enough to meet his father's expectations, berating himself for still not living up to his legacy.
I thought I finally had a chance to prove myself to you.
But Shin Mao, for arguably the first time in his life, gives him the respect he long deserved in this beautiful scene.
I know you always say there's no shame in being small.
Mamo, my son, you are not small.
Did this change Shin Mao's perspective on his son? Is this a one-time thing? Who can say? But for now at least, Mamo's got what he's always wanted. I have never seen another episode of anything, or even just anything in general, that I felt has spoken so deeply to me. I've been constantly struggling with my own insecurities, that everything I do is just not good enough. That it's just meaningless and nobody cares. That I'm not skilled enough to earn any type of respect from anyone. Worried that I'm not good enough to get any sort of career with my ambitions, and that everything I've tried to do and learn in my life means nothing. I felt so much like Mamo in this episode, trying so hard to desperately prove yourself, but the feeling constantly diminished and small on everything you pride yourself in. It's been something I've been dealing with for years now, from myself and my academics, my passions in art, my writing, my career, and even this YouTube channel. I feel that constant insecurity that's not good enough. But you have to push past that, past your insecurities, and the voice that you're not good enough. Everything you do has worth, even if no one else believes you do. Because the only one who can decide how much worth you have is you. So don't let it put you down. If any show can touch me like that on such an emotional level, then it's no wonder that's one of my favorite shows. I feel it accomplishes everything it tries to do. It's so beautiful, compelling, heartfelt. I absolutely adore it. And with what's building up in Season 2, it might have gotten even better. There's still the mystery of the Ruby Pureheart, and us not seeing any of Mamo's sisters or Badger Cops' past. But Season 2 was greenlit. It was in production. I don't know exactly how far it got, but I think it was finished, or at least close to being finished, but it just never got released for some reason. Why? Like, really, why would they not? To make matters worse, not only is it not airing anymore, but it's also been removed from streaming. So there's effectively no way to actually see it. Like, how is this possible? Streaming was supposed to revolutionize the industry, but now it's just treating shows as completely throwaway whenever they feel like it. And yeah, for the foreseeable future, no Season 2 of this show. Man, did I ever view 2 action cartoons with surprisingly compelling lore that will never get their story arcs resolved in another season, back to back? But, unlike Zevo 3, there is a chance for this show to come back. Somehow, if Warner gets their collective shit together and bring it back, finally release a second season, everything will be right in the world. I mean, if Gummo can get its 7th season after years of hiatus, Mamo definitely has a chance. So yeah, I definitely recommend this show. I guarantee you'll love it. And hey, if it gets a bigger following, then maybe Cartoon Network see for how good it is, and finally release a second season. Because I know we have not seen the end of the story of this legendary hero. What can I say but, I love you, Mamo.
With friends like you at Doorbad, every adventure can be a perfect one. Who knows how many await us? Stop it!